everyone, and thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. First time in 16 months I've seen these two guys in person.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Isn't it?
I know. Good to see everybody.
Tariq Spence joining me, and along with Pat Duffy, fresh off his Aquinas Mission Bouts fight. Give me the short version on how this went for you.
The short version is it's easier to be a 22-year-old boxer than it is to be a 35-year-old boxer. But it was blast, man. They put on a great event. It was the best moment I've had in a long, long time. It was fun, so good
Very
times.
good.
Yeah.
And you're still upright, and Tariq came in and says, is there any place that I can't touch?
Saturday was terrible, Saturday morning, and then I still got one little bit left under my eye.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're good, we're good.
So it's a little souvenir.
You should see the other guy. He's much more handsome than I am. That's what
Tariq, let's start talking about Gwen Berry, the latest to use an Olympic platform as a form of protest. She did this at the trial. She's a hammer thrower. She finished third in the trial. She's going to the Olympics.
Yep.
And surprise, this isn't being especially well received.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, the fact that I'm glad she came out very quickly and basically said, I don't hate the country. So she's basically saying, you know, I'm a part of the Olympic team. I don't hate the country. I do have some issues that I want to bring up, some things and platforms I want to use. I think her issue specifically was about the Star Spangled Banner words itself, not anything specific that she was, you know, talking about. But I do find it very interesting, the fact that this protest, the way it was done, okay, no kneeling, but turning. Okay, there's a different ways for people to feel as if they want to protest, but I guess you can't really tell somebody how they want to protest. I find it very interesting that she made this statement and very clear. She does not hate the country, which brings me to my point. You can love something and not like the way it's run. You can love your family members, you can love your job, you can complain about a number of different things, you can complain about the country, but that doesn't mean you don't love the country. You just think that there's some things that need improvement. And by protesting, that brings the attention to improving or the awareness of what the issue is. So I think this is met with a lot of anger by the protest of the Star Spangled Banner, but I think she's looking at the words and the fact that she was told that it wasn't going to play and that it was some other miscommunication.
Yeah, I would think, oddly enough, I thought if the United States Olympic Committee really is looking ahead, it says the last thing, if I were on that committee, the last thing I'd want, if I have an option, and I do, is to use the anthem when she's on the stand. I said, save her and save myself this whole situation.
Well, I understand the pickle the Olympic Committee would find themselves in because, I mean, look, it's a patriotic American event. Yeah, I would understand why you would feel like you had to play the Star Spangled Banner. That being said, why are we having this discussion again? Like, how many times in the history, like, the Olympics is nothing but social, political protest. Name me a single Olympics that you can remember that hasn't been affected by this in some way. Whether it's Jesse Owens, whether it's Mexico City, whether it's things with hostages, whether it's the Soviet Union, whether it's boycotts from America, boycotts from I mean, like, I'm watching this week these people, you know, since when are they using the Olympics for social and political protest? Are you kidding me? It's the whole reason it exists. Yeah. It's the reason, right? They were designed so we're not killing each other. We can go have these athletic competitions. Like, stop with this whole historical misremembering. I'm going to manufacture anger every time this happens. It's always happened. Let it happen. It's better than the alternative.
Does it generate any discussion on your show?
No, because, look, I don't really want to go down that road because, again, I can point to 15 different instances where they've had the same discussion every single time. Don't pretend it hasn't happened before. Don't generate false anger. It's going to happen.
Well, I think what scares me is the fact that people put a narrative on it. They say, okay, this is what this means when somebody decides to protest, instead of actually asking the athlete, what's the issue? I think we jump to the, I'm upset by it, I'm angry by it, that's it, I don't want to hear anything more about it. Well, there's a reason why people protest. There's a reason why somebody's doing something, to bring attention and awareness to it. So to Duffy's point, I think the fact that the narrative goes to, I don't like it, don't do it, it shouldn't happen, period, as opposed to, wait a minute, why are you doing this?
Yeah, so close the discussion with, does this work? I mean, is this, if to Duffy's point, it's become so commonplace, is anyone going to pay attention to this woman?
I think they do pay attention. I think they do know it. I don't know how long it'll last in the news cycle. I think this makes it sort of a discussion of, okay, what was the issue? Okay, that is the issue. I can move on from it. We can grow from it. We can learn from it. But I don't know if it will result in change. I think that's the main thing. When you go to a protest, you really want change. You don't want things to stay the same. You're protesting because something shouldn't be the same, and it is. So if it results in change in whatever the cause is, I'm interested. If it doesn't, you had a platform and now you know whether or not people really want to change it.
This is the Rochester Press Box, back in the Classy Wolf studio, and glad to be here. Buffalo Bills Talk is next.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome back here to the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko, Tariq Spence, Pat Duffy. Pat, talking Buffalo Bills. Boy, aren't we big on social issues? We slide in Carl Nassib comes out as a gay football player with the Las Vegas Raiders, and Bruce Smith jumps on the heels of that and declares that there was probably two members of the championship Bills teams who were also gay.
Yeah, the way that he broke it down with an interview in TMZ was early or mid to late 90s, he believed he said there's definitely one, possibly two gay players in the locker room in Buffalo. And why is that surprising? So I remember distinctively, Real Sports with Brian Gumbel did a story where they talked to, I think it was a former Ravens defensive tackle who ended up coming out after his career was over because he was afraid to do it. And they did interviews around the league. And a couple of the players they talked to said, every NFL locker room has 3 to 4 gay players at all times that most of the players know about, which makes sense if you look at statistics as far as sexuality in America.
Yeah. It's about 10%. It's like 50 players.
Yeah. Of course there were gay players in Buffalo in the 90s. There were gay players on every roster in the 90s. And here's the thing. If you're one of these people that thinks you don't know anybody, you're also wrong. Like, it's just a matter of time. I guess what it comes down to is like the idea of what traditional masculinity is. Because you hear the old heads when they talk about football, and it doesn't even have to do with sexuality now, right? It has to do with how tough these players are versus how tough players were back in the day. Well, listen, there's someone that you thought was tough, was tough back in the day. That was also gay man. Those two things are not mutually exclusive to each other. I'll go back to my first social issue thing. I don't get what the big deal is here.
I find it very interesting that Bruce Smith would say it, and not only in support of it too, but think of the generation beforehand and the generation now where they're more open about it. They're more willing to discuss it. We're probably going to have more athletes say certain things. Yet 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was kind of like, well, of course this takes place, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to come out. There's still this fear and concern about how they may be ostracized and they may be cut or how they'll be viewed. There's more support now for athletes that want to express themselves than there's ever been before. I think this is just going to be one of those things that the next generation of fans are going to get used to. And I'm sorry, old guy who went through the 80s, 90s roster of the Buffalo Bills trying to figure out who it is because Smith at this point didn't name who that person is. That's just the way of the world now.
But you also have to keep in mind, where everyone's head was at from the early 90s to the mid-90s. Let's not forget about what Magic Johnson went through after his HIV diagnosis. What was that, 92?
Somewhere in there.
Okay, so there was, here come the rumors that he's gay, but let's put that aside. He has HIV, and there were NBA players. Karl Malone, if I'm not mistaken, was one of them who said he would refuse to take the court with Magic Johnson because he wasn't sure what he was going to catch. All right, so if a player comes out as gay, you're still dealing with the HIV situation moving into the mid-90s. Do you have people, well, what about this? The danger of me. It has nothing to do with these social ideas. Well, do you want to be the face of that discussion in 1994, 1995? You don't. And that's before social media. So this person doesn't have an opportunity to control their own words. It's whatever ends up in a piece that they do with ABC, CBS, ESPN.
I don't think a portion of that has changed, Tariq, because the three of us, right? Ideally, NASA comes out and we said, matter of statistics, of course. Mm-hmm. What's the big deal? Mm-hmm. But we all looked it up. When Bruce Smith had a thing, we all looked at the story.
Yeah.
I don't think we're past this until the story comes out like this. And to Duffy's point, we really don't care.
I think generationally we will be. I think there is another generation, younger generation, and the NFL better pay attention to understanding this. And they've marketed to people who are gay and understand that there's different people of segments of people that watch sports. His jersey became, I think, the #1 selling jersey the day after. So the NFL understands that, and you have to be willing to open to understand how big this is for an athlete. And there will be more. Will organizations understand and support their players and understand that there will be fans that may not be happy about this because there's an ugliness to this end of this too. So hopefully they have everything put together. Hopefully they get this, but it wasn't a shock to me nor Duffy.
Is the league sincere or are they just testing the waters when they come out and say the NFL is gay and they're getting all this praise saying, they're landing on the right side of a social issue for a change?
You know the answer to that question. Look, there are...
I want you to say.
They're a reactionary league. That's what it comes down to. They don't care about what is right or what is wrong. They care about how people's reaction is to it. Look at what happened with the Colin Kaepernick situation. They saw how they got hurt by that on double ends, right? Because they tried not to decide to take a side. Well, let's see where the social aspect is moving. No. if it hurt them to come out and do what they did this week, they wouldn't have done it. They see a benefit in it for them. They see how social attitudes are changing because they would have done this 15 years ago had that been the case.
This is the Rochester Press Box. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
All of these things show Josh Allen has a strive for greatness inside of him.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. A segment of the Press Box, Like It or Not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law Firm. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Law today. Pat, like it or not, I heard your segment on the radio this week and it was entertaining. Frisbee golf.
Well, we're going for entertaining, so thank you. Wait, how great was that Frisbee golf shot? Okay, look, I'll be completely honest with you. I only played Frisbee golf when I was a kid because we needed a reason to go into the woods and do other things away from our parents. However, I had never witnessed a live Frisbee golf event, and I kind of thought it was dorky. Still dorky. But what a scene, man! What a scene! What a clutch moment! 247 feet to force an 18th hole playoff to win a championship. By the way, the guy who hit that shot won the championship in the extra play. I'm never going to go in person to a Frisbee golf event. I'm not going to spend money on Frisbee golf merchandise. However, there may be advertisers that get my money because the next Frisbee golf event I see scattered through when I'm watching stuff on cable, what's up with that Frisbee golf event for a little while?
I'm curious now, with all the research you've done on this, what was the guy? I mean, do you know any of his background, like what he did? Or?
So I know that he's not a big fan of the barber and that he doesn't lift weights all that much. But no, other than that, I know nothing about that guy.
So he's a classic Frisbee golfer. Tariq, like it or not, the new position held by the NCAA about athletes cashing in on their likeness.
I like it. I think it's a first step in a great direction in a road that a lot of people have been blocking off for many years. I think it's the step before the next step, which we all know full well is an opportunity for these kids to basically be able to do it outside of just sort of sports and go in that direction. So I love it. I like the opportunity. Yes, there are going to be pitfalls. Yes, people are going to take money, but we already have that now. The college makes a ton of money. So does the NCAA altogether. But it'd be good to see how many college kids do we remember throughout the last couple of tournaments that never made any money, didn't make it to the league, and their golden moment was the NCAA tournament. Their golden moment was college. I hate to use Johnny Manziel, but Johnny Manziel's highest value was in college. There was no value after that. So, I mean, this might be their one shining moment to make some money.
You know what? I see this as being along the lines of like the NCAA is in the track and the train is coming, and they realize can't do anything but get out of the way.
Yeah.
So they got out of the way.
Yeah. I think, but you know what's funny? Getting out of the way, you will get back to the spirit and the sport and the competitiveness, and kids want to stay for 3 years. Yeah, the tournament is set the way it is. A lot of people are like, well, they're just one and done and they're leaving. What if a kid really did commit 3 years or 4 years or really you could build the program once again from scratch? There's just been this patchwork in college sports. I just don't think it works, so why keep doing it?
Well, and they were leaving without being paid anyway. Like, what's your argument? I'm going to make the argument that if you know that you are not ready for the league, but you're in a market, whatever college, where you can benefit financially from local advertising, things like that, be more likely to stay. I think this fixes that problem as opposed to exacerbates it.
Quickly, you're the uniform guy, Pat. Like it or not, the move that the Bills want, perhaps, to go back to those red helmets.
Oh, those red helmets are nice, right? Those are really nice red helmets. Yeah, I'm in 100% just because it gives me more jerseys to buy when they have to go with that jersey when they go throwbacks again.
Alrighty, Like It or Not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Time for Unfinished Business. Pat Duffy starts us.
Donnie Meatballs, you're up, buddy. Don Granato named officially the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres this week. He was the interim head coach. He got the job after Ralph Kruger came in, and Ralph Krugered all over the place. And it's a very unique hire for the Pagulas when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres, because everything up until this point had been a splash of a hire. You bring a guy that had won a Stanley Cup in here to Buffalo because he's going to leave. And then you bring a guy who was a legend here in Buffalo and Phil Housley because fans love that stuff. And then you bring in an unconventional hire, Ralph Kruger. He's smart, man. He's going to get in these kids' heads. He knows how to motivate players. None of that worked. So why not try something else? The complete opposite. A guy who's never had a head coaching job in the NHL before. A guy who seems like a blue-collar grit guy, which, by the way, the fans would have loved in the first place. It's the first time I can ever remember being a sports fan in Western New York where fans weren't clamoring for this shiny, big name. They were clamoring for the guy that nobody had heard of before 6 months ago, right? When's the last time a Buffalo sports franchise decided we're going to go low, we're going to go with the cheaper option, the guy that is unproven, and fans went, yeah, that's what we want. So I guess the good thing here, we don't know if the Sabres are going to be any better than they were. I mean, statistically, historically, probably not. But at least the pressure's low because you hired a guy that was riding in the second seat of the bus last season.
For folks that know me and my family, my wife loves putt-putt. That's one thing she does for her birthday every single year. And thank you to Bill Pucko for letting me know that there is something called disc golf, frisbee golf. Conrad James, congratulations, my friend. You're my new hero, and we'll now be looking for a place to go to play disc golf. Why? Because it's fun. That's exactly what I saw in every clip that I saw when he made that, 245-foot birdie, literally with a disc. The celebration was unbelievable. Something that you would see maybe at a basketball tournament when somebody makes 7 threes at the Rucker Park. It was the environment that I missed the most. The fans able to enjoy themselves. Yes, I know a lot of people are like, well, why don't you play real golf? I don't know. I don't make a lot of money and I don't have a lot of time. But what I do have time for is for fun. And to see people enjoy a moment and share like that, perfect for social media, but also something I might take the entire family to go enjoy.
Bookending our first segment, using the Olympic podium to stage a protest is really nothing new. But the jury is still out on its effectiveness, and it takes time, that's for sure. In 1968, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, who finished first and third, respectively, in the 200-meter Olympic dash in the Tokyo Olympics, staged the now famous Black Power protest. Each wore black-gloved, single-fisted salutes. They wore shoeless black socks on the podium. Each donned beads. Smith had a black scarf. Carlos had open sweat jacket demonstrating solidarity for Black Power, Black Pride, Black Poverty, blue-collar workers, and social justice. They also wore an Olympic Project for Human Rights badge. This was a well-thought-out event. As a result, the two men were expelled from the Olympic Village for essentially violating international Olympic protocol and sent home to what was largely an angry nation. The 60s were tough times for race relations in the United States in relative terms. It took 40 years for the 1968 Olympic protest to gain traction as an act of courage. In 2008, Smith and Carlos were presented the Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs. San Jose State University erected a 22-foot statue in their honor called the Victory Salute. And it wasn't until 2019, 51 years after the fact, that the two former world record holders were elected to the United States Olympic Hall of Fame. Both are in their late 70s now, living examples of just how long it takes. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our program. Guys, thanks very much.
I'm so proud of Pat Duffy. How you feeling, man? Really, I mean, you know, you get the souvenir, but good?
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
What's your name again?
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the Rochester Press Box.